everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our Inscape webinar, which is focused on the Inscape Cloud Management Service to review part one of our checklist. By leveraging the features that we're going to go through today, we're going to help you with gaining more visibility into your cloud cost information. I'm Stacy Mancinelli. If we can go to the next slide. And we have the rest of our panel with us today. So we are a dedicated client success team and operations team. So if you're new to using Inscape, we're dedicated to supporting you on your Inscape journey. You can reach out to us anytime for assistance with Inscape. And we hold webinars pretty much every month. So we'll keep you informed when we have new webinars coming up that you're welcome to join. And before we dive in, if we can go to the next slide, we are going to use the Q&A section today in the Teams webinar. So if you have a question during the call, feel free to use the Q&A feature and we'll help get your questions answered as quick as we can. Also, we have our link to the Inscape community here, which we invite you to be a part of to stay informed of all things Inscape. So when we have new features released, new tips, new information, we post them on our LinkedIn page weekly to share that with you and keep you up to date. We'll put that link in the chat here so you can join at your convenience. And just a reminder related to cloud. So Inscape is a multi-cloud platform that supports Azure, AWS, and GCP. And we have two cloud services. We have the Inscape Anomaly service, which is all around cost anomaly detection and alerting. And then we have the cloud management service focused on giving you visibility into your cloud spend with many different features that you can leverage. And that's what we're going to focus on today is the cloud management section, part of that section. And then we're going to have a part 2 webinar in the future to go through the other features that we don't get to today. But if you need help with any of these features for cloud, we're happy to help you anytime with these services. So moving on to the next slide. So for our checklist today, this is what we're going to be diving into and walking you through how to get the most out of the cloud management service. So first, we're going to remind you how to leverage the Inscape user access control and make sure that you have your users listed for the cloud services that you want them to utilize. We're also going to show you how to customize your dashboard if you haven't done this yet. So that way, when you first go into Inscape, you have it customized to your needs. We're also going to go into the cost review dashboard and show you how to slice your data however you want, leveraging the different filters that we have available for each cloud. And then we also will show you how to group your cost by subscription account, project, resource group, or resource, which is also exportable. We will also show you how to leverage our pre-built cloud reports. We have over 50 in the library that you can leverage and also schedule with your teams. And then we're also going to show you how to use the budget and commit feature within Inscape. So you can either manage a budget that's monthly or an annual basis. And we'll be walking through those sections for you today. And then we also wanted to share some of the newer features that are now available in the cloud management service. So first of all, you may or may not have seen that we have added a custom date range option at the top of the cost review dashboard. So if you have a specific date that you want to look at for your cloud cost, you can do that. We also have a trended view now available showing your costs by 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, plus new reports that you may not be leveraging in the library. And then for those of you with AWS, we do have reserved instance and savings plan cost information in the cloud management service. Brand new, this just was released this week. And we're very excited to share that we also now have the reserved instance and saving plan information for Azure. So this is something that many of our customers have been asking for related to Azure, and we're very excited to have released that this week. So, should you have reserved instances or savings plans in Azure, you'll now be able to see that cost information in the cloud management cost review dashboard. So we're going to do our walkthrough now, going through all these features of the cloud management service. Just a friendly reminder to make sure you have the URL bookmarked, platform.inscape365.com. This is how you access the main Inscape platform, along with the other services within Inscape. So now we're going to hand it over to Bailey, who's part of our Inscape client success team, and she's going to walk you through the cloud management service features that we just talked about.
All right, perfect. And so just to start off, in the Inkscape access control, so just in case after our call today, if you find that there's maybe any users from your organization that don't currently have access that you would like to add in here, you'll just come up to the settings gear up in the top right-hand corner and click on Manage Inkscape Users Access. Now, the three that you'll want to focus on, just for the purpose of today's call, is going to be the anomaly, cloud management, and then our Inscape admin roles. So, to add new users into the portal, we'll just click the Add Role button up at the top. And then you can select your authentication method if you have multiple tenants or Google domains added in here. You can select whichever one you're adding a user from. And then you'll just type in the full Microsoft or Google domain of any of the users that you're adding. And then for Anomaly and Cloud Management, both, we have admin and reader roles. I do want to mention or point out that both Anomaly and Cloud Management are read only services. So nothing anybody does here in Inscape is actually going to affect anything in your native cloud environments. So they can't make any changes to your Azure, AWS, or GCP environments. But we do have both admin and reader roles. So if you give somebody full admin access to both of those services, they will be able to create their own reports, update settings, create budgets, and edit all of those things. If you give them just read only access, they're essentially just going to be able to view all of the cost and recommendation data, but they won't be able to update or make any changes to anything within the Inscape portal. And then we also have our Inscape admin role, which is important on the cloud side. This will give us access to exactly what we're looking at right now. So users can add other users into the Inscape portal. And then it's also going to give access to the main Inscape dashboard, which we are going to switch to here right now. So on our main Inscape dashboard, we have customizable widgets, and every individual person from your organization that's utilizing Inscape can create their own dashboard depending on what they're wanting to see in here. So we have all of our default widgets available. So my dashboard right now is just the default widgets that most of you probably see on your dashboard unless you've already updated it. And you can come in here and remove any of these default widgets if there's any clouds that you're maybe not using. And then if you click the Add Widget button up at the top, you can see all of the different widget categories that we have in here. So we have different widgets for your cloud cost, where you can see your last month, month to date, or year to date cloud spend. And then it also breaks it up by all of the individual providers. And then next we have our advisor recommendations, where you can see how many different recommendations you have for each advisor category. Virtual machine right sizing recommendations, your maturity score, and then, of course, our anomaly notifications broken out by provider as well. And then once you have your dashboard adjusted however you would like, to save the dashboard, you would just give it a name. And then you can select to display it by default. So in here, you can create as many dashboards as you need to. So if this is the main dashboard that you would want to display by default, you can check that box there and then just click Save Dashboard. And that's what's going to appear every time you log into Inscape. But like I said, you can create multiple dashboards. So if you want to create a new one, you'll just click that plus sign again and follow all of those same steps. Or you can edit the existing dashboard that you've already created.
So Bailey, just to confirm, this dashboard, is this per user's view or it's for the whole company? Am I changing the dashboard?
This is per user view, so each person from your organization that has access to Inscape, again, as long as they have that Inscape admin role, will be able to see and customize their own dashboard.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, so now moving on to cloud management. Here we have our main cost review dashboard, which is going to show you your day-to-day consumption breakdown for all of the clouds that you are billing through CDW, whether it's Azure, AWS, or GCP. And here you are able to add filters. So we have filters for all of the different providers. AWS, you can filter this by accounts, products, resources, tags, if you do implement any tagging in AWS. And then for Azure, we have different filters for resources, resource groups, tagging again. If you have multiple tenants that you're monitoring, you can monitor those. And then for GCP, we also have filters for billing accounts, projects, resources, services, etc. So for each of these filters, you can add as many as you would like and stack those filters. And then once you have a filter applied, if there's ever any maybe specific filters or resources that you find yourself monitoring a little closer than others, you can always save those filters just to make it a little more easier and time efficient to find that specific data. So to save a filter, I'll just give it a name. And then you can assign it to any other users if you would like to, but assigning the filter is not necessary because again, every filter that's created and saved in this portal is visible for anyone that has access in here. And then once you have that filter saved, to use it, you can either click the hamburger button over on the right-hand side, just click whichever filter you're wanting to see, or we can also go over to the Saved Filters tab in this left-hand menu. And anyone that's labeled as cost underneath the type area, you can just click on that and it's going to kick you right back to the cost review dashboard with that specific filter applied. And then some of the newer features that we have here in the cost review is, of course, the forecasting data. So you can toggle that on and off. This is going to show you your forecasted cost throughout the rest of the current month. And then we also have our trended view. So if you would rather see more of a grouped combined monthly cost instead of your daily cost breakdown, you can filter it by either last 3, 6, or 12 months. And then we also have our custom date range where you can select as many months as you need to. And then down below our graph, we have the table. And if we are looking at the trended view, it's going to show the monthly cost for each of those individual line items, however you currently have it grouped. So for AWS, we can do this again by account, service, resource. Azure can be grouped by subscription, resource group, or resources. And then we have several filters for or different groupings for GCP as well. So this is going to show the monthly line item breakdown and then also the total cost for all of those combined together. This can all be exported to a CSV if needed at any time. And then another new feature we have is, of course, our AWS savings plans and our Azure savings plans and reserved instances. We do have some examples in here just so you can take a look at those. Oh, give me one moment here. I was clicking around too much, my apologies. So here we can turn on our savings plans and reserved instances for Azure. And we do have an example of what those look like. And you can export these. So if you want to export just your savings plans or reserved instance list, or we can export the general cost information as well. Once you do export these, they do not automatically download. I always like to point that out. So if you do ever export this table, you'll want to head over to the Exports tab in the left-hand menu, and then you can click the download button to underneath Actions to download it from there. Alrighty, so before I move on from the cost review, do we have any questions or anything that need to be addressed?
Are we able to filter by tags as well?
Yes, we can. So for both AWS and Azure, we have tag filtering for both of those.
Okay. And I do see somebody with their hand raised. If you're able to put your question in the Q&A, we'll be able to address that. And while I'm in
I
there, I
did
do
have
have
a couple questions related back to the dashboard, but I think those were answered. So if there's anything that you need more clarification on related to the dashboard, just put it back in the chat here and we'll respond.
All right, wonderful. So moving on to our report profiles next. So a lot of the information that we just saw back in the cost review can also be set up to be sent to you automatically via email here in our report profiles. So I'm going to click the add button up at the top, and this will show the library of all of the different pre-built report templates that we have available for you to schedule for yourself or anybody else from your organization. A lot of these reports are going to be related to cost, and they are also, some of them are specific to the provider. So some of them cover all three of our providers that we support here in Inscape. Some of them are going to be more specific to just Azure, AWS, or GCP, and you can see those up in the top right-hand corner of each report. You can also filter these by providers. So if you're only using one or two providers in Inscape, we can just add that filter on and only see the reports that support whichever one you're using. Then we have a bunch of different report types. Most of them are going to be related to your different cost breakdowns, where you can see like your 100 most expensive subscriptions, resources, services, every which way, however you want to break that cost down. And we also have some different advisor recommendations, most and least utilized databases, virtual machines, some VM right sizing recommendations. So a lot of great reports beyond just your basic cost breakdown reports as well. And these reports cannot be viewed in Inscape. Like I said, a lot of that information can be seen in the cost review. These are specifically scheduled reports. But just in case you want to get an idea of what each report looks like, we do have an example for each one. You can click on that and it'll show you sample data that will show you exactly what that report will look like once it's sent to your email. And then whenever you're ready to set up a report, you'll just select the name of the report. You can give it a friendly name, and then again, add in any filters that you would like. You can also use your saved filters here. And then it's automatically going to email that report to whoever is currently setting it up. So if you would like to, you can delete that just because I personally don't get email to this username that I'm adding in here. So if I wanted to delete it and add my actual email address, I can do that. Or I can add in any other users from my organization, even if they don't have access to the Inscape portal. And then once we have a filter set up, back in this main dashboard is where you're going to be able to see all of the different the different reports that are currently set up for you. You can edit them, or if you would ever like to send the report instantly instead of waiting for the time that it's scheduled to be sent to you on, you can always come in, click this send report now to, and add up to 5 email addresses to receive that report right away.
Bailey, when we're sending the report on demand, does that have to be sent to a user that's already in Inscape?
It does not. So the user does not have to be from Inscape, and it doesn't even have to be from your organization. So if for whatever reason you're wanting to send a report to maybe somebody from CDW, whether it's your account manager, your TAM, or anything like that, you can come in and just add their email address and it will send it to them right away. All right, awesome. So next we are going to head to the budgets. So these are monthly budgets that you can set up here in Inscape to kind of help you monitor and track your cloud spend throughout each month. Now, you can set up a budget that covers all of your providers. So if you are using all three, you could do that. Or you could divide your budgets out by the individual providers and then even add filters to create budgets for individual accounts, tags, resources, however you prefer to divide those up. And then on this page here, I'm going to enter a name for my budget that I'm setting up, and then just add in the budget amount. And then on our next page, this is where you can set up different alert conditions or notification thresholds to kind of help you keep track of that budget throughout the month. So, for example, if for this budget I'm wanting to be notified every 25%, I can just add those percentages in, and then it's going to autofill the dollar amount in here for me. And then I can add up to 6 alert recipients to receive these budget alerts. So again, these can be users that don't have access to the Inscape portal. So if there's anybody on like your accounting or maybe finance team that you want to add in to receive some of these budget alerts without giving them full access to the portal, you can definitely do that. And then once I have a budget created, I can always come in and edit, view the details of that budget, or if I ever want to delete it, I can come in and do that. Now it does say June budget up at the top of each of these, but once you set up a budget, you don't have to come in at the end of every month to reset anything. These budgets do automatically roll over into the next month. So once we get to July, instead of saying June here, it will say July. All right, and then next I'm going to head over to our commits section. So very similar to the budgets that we just walked through, these commits are like annual commits that you can track whether you have any like annual set amount you're committed through Microsoft, AWS, or GCP. Or you can also use this as another form of budgeting. So just in case you don't use monthly budgets and you prefer to set up like a quarterly or annual budget, this is going to be the area for you. So just like with the budgets, I'm going to enter a name and then a monthly amount for that budget. And then on the next page, this is where you're going to be able to select your own customizable date range. And then we can select our providers. So again, if you want to set up a commit for all three, you can, or you can just pick one specific provider. And then we'll set up our alert conditions. So again, if I want to be notified every 25%. Now, I do want to point out that unlike the budgets, for the budgets, you don't have to put in a 100% commit threshold, but for these commits, you will want to. And then you can also go over if you would like. So if there's ever a chance that you might go over that commit or budget, you can also add in like 125, 150% thresholds just in case you want to be notified if you do ever go over it. And then once I have that added in, I'm going to click next here, and then I can add in up to 6 alert recipients, just like the budgets, to receive those notifications for the annual commit. Again, these do not have to be users that have access to the Inscape portal itself. All right, awesome. Well, that's all we had to cover on today's webinar. Please drop any questions or anything like that in the chat. These next few minutes will be taken for a Q&A. And then in our next webinar, so Cloud Cost Management Part 2, we'll be covering everything else that we weren't able to cover today. So Advisor, AWS Workspaces, virtual machines, maturity, and anomaly. Then, of course, we'll recap the dashboard and then the access control as well.
If you go back into Inscape, Bailey, just to address a couple of the questions.
Sorry, Bailey, I took over the screen too soon.
No worries.
So we have a question from Daniel asking if there's the ability to create a report that shows all new resources accruing cost over the last few days. So if you could just in the report show all the resource reports that are available.
Yes, so we do have like the 100 most expensive resources. Now, this is not going to highlight specifically the new resources that were created in the last couple of days. This is going to cover your 100 like general most expensive resources.
Also, team, he can also go into the cost review and pull the resource cost metrics from there and leverage the date picker as well.
Yes.
So if he's looking for a very finite or definite time and space, he could select any of those options, including the custom option there. And I hope that answers your question, Daniel.
Yeah, so you could do the customized date range, select your whatever date range the last couple of days, and then you can export it to CSV here with your resources.
Yeah, and it could even be like the date. It doesn't even have to be like a week or a month. It could even be a day or two. You can customize it for, um, the last 2 days, the last day.
So we'll do that here.
Hopefully that's helpful
And
to you, Daniel, to leverage either those reports or slicing it through the cost review.
We do have one more question, team. This user is asking, can you show us how we can see the cost of a specific resource, for example, a VM? So I don't know if you want to leverage the filters in here to select a particular resource.
yep, so that's where you would just go to the add filter button and then go to whichever provider. So for Azure, we would just select resource and then, oh, give me one moment here to reset this. Yep, so we would just go to add filter, Azure, and then we can select our resource filters, and then you'll just search whichever specific resource you're wanting to view.
Okay, I think we got a thumbs up on that one. Thank you, Boyan.
Excellent. We have one more question. Can we generate a cost report including forecast?
Yes, thank you for that question, actually. So in the report profiles, whenever you are setting up any of our automated reports, next to the name, there's going to be this include forecast. I believe it's always checked by default, but if you don't want to receive it or if you don't want to see the forecast, you can uncheck it. But all of our cost reports do receive or do automatically include the forecasted information.
Hey, any other questions? Feel free to put that in the chat. I believe we've addressed, or I should say in the Q&A section, not the chat. I believe we've addressed everything that's been asked so far.
All right, and then Sam, if you maybe want to take over while we're waiting to see if there's any more questions, we can go
Yes.
over our last slides.
Yep, so we're keeping an eye on questions coming in, but just to review a couple more slides here. We do have more webinars on the schedule. So if anybody here has Microsoft 365 that you're leveraging an Inscape for reporting, our training platform, all those services, we do have 2 coming up that are M365 related. So next month is going to be a deep dive training session on the Inscape training platform. So if you're not using this service, we have thousands of Microsoft 365 related videos that you can push to your users with different learning paths, and many, many features within that training platform that you could take advantage of. So we're going to do a deep dive session next month. And then in August, we are going to be focusing on the Microsoft 365 report section. And we do have some new reports. So for those Copilot users out there, we have some new Copilot reports that just went live recently that you could take advantage of. So we're going to be going through all of those different reports in August. And we always welcome your feedback. If you have a specific topic that you'd like us to cover on a future webinar, you can share that with us anytime. Also, you might have periodically receive a survey from Inscape, and we would really appreciate it if you took a minute to take our survey because we do really value your feedback on our team and the Inscape services that you're using. And then the last slide, we have our contact information. So this is our client success team, and we're here to help you on your Inscape journey, as I mentioned earlier. So should you need assistance, please reach out to us anytime, or you can chat with us on Teams. We also have a group mailbox that you can use, inscape.signup@cdw.com. And I'm just checking back to the Q&A here. Make sure we are good to go. Any other questions? Let's see.
There is one more, Stacy. Somebody is asking about, they just upgraded from an E3 to an E5, and they're looking to know if there's any specific things that they should be using Inscape to monitor, look at.
Yes, let's have a separate call with you to review the Microsoft services, Todd, and we can go through that with you separately. And I do also see another question underneath that, Melissa, related to cloud. I believe this one's related to cloud. On the download of monthly, 6-month, 12-month report tabs, is there any way to get a feature to allow a collate function so we don't have to download all of them individually? I believe that's in the clouds section.
Yep, so at this time, you would have to download all of them individually, like you said, but that would be a great feature request. We love client feedback, so if you want to send that over to me, Chad, we can always get it added to our feature request list.
Okay, I don't see any other questions coming in, so we really appreciate your time today, and reach out if you need any assistance. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.